August 1st, 1941, Bethpage, Long Island. Chief Engineer Robert Hall sat at the controls of a massive barrel-bodied prototype as it rumbled down the runway. To Navy officials watching from the sidelines, the aircraft seemed absurd. Too heavy, too complex, too ambitious. Yet, when the ex-TBF-1 lifted into the sky, history changed. What critics dismissed as an over-engineered disaster would go on to sink more enemy ships than any other American aircraft in history. The Grumman Avenger was born not from elegant design, but from brute force ingenuity and necessity. 2 years earlier, the Navy had demanded a replacement for its obsolete Douglas TBD Devastator, a new torpedo bomber that could fly 300 meticulously, reach 1,000 miles, carry all weapons internally, and protect its crew with armor and self-sealing fuel tanks. It seemed impossible. Out of 13 proposals, 2 designs stood out: the sleek Vought XTBU-1 and the bulky Grumman XTBF-1. Vaught's aircraft won initially, but production delays shifted the contract to Grumman. Hall and his team faced an impossible challenge: fit every new system, an internal bomb bay, a powered turret, folding wings, into one single-engine aircraft. The bomb bay had to carry a 2,000-pound torpedo or 4 bombs and survive combat damage. The turret had to rotate electrically, a first for naval aviation, and the 54-foot wings needed to fold to fit on carriers. Solved by Leroy Grumman himself using a pink eraser and paper clips, creating the famous Sto-Wing fold. Powered by the Wright R2600 engine, the prototype flew, but barely. It was heavy, ungraceful, and unforgiving, earning nicknames like the Turkey. Then, disaster struck. On November 28, 1941, the prototype caught fire and crashed. Critics demanded cancellation, but war was looming and the Navy doubled down. By January 1942, production models rolled off the line. Just 5 months later, 6 Avengers took off from Midway Island, their first combat mission. None of the crews had combat experience, yet they flew directly into Japanese Zero fighters. 5 of the 6 were shot down. Only one, piloted by Ensign Albert Ernest, limped back to base, riddled with bullets, turret destroyed, fuel tanks punctured, but still flying. Engineers later counted 9 cannon hits and 64 machine gun strikes. The Avenger had survived what should have been impossible. Its self-sealing tanks, armor, and redundant systems had done their job. That battered survivor proved the aircraft's true purpose: not beauty or agility, but survivability. Production ramped up fast. By mid-1942, Avengers filled Navy decks, replacing the doomed Devastators. They struck at Guadalcanal, the Solomons, and the Eastern Pacific, sinking the Japanese carrier Ryujo and crippling battleships like Hiei. Yet the Avengers' story didn't end with torpedoes. In the Atlantic, it became the Allies' most deadly submarine hunter. Outfitted with radar, depth charges, and the secret Mark 24 homing torpedo, Avengers patrolled from escort carriers, stalking U-boats day and night. Between 1943 and 1945, they helped sink over 35 German submarines, more than any other aircraft. As the war expanded, so did the Avengers' reputation. By 1944, General Motors had joined production, mass-producing thousands under the TBM designation. The Battle of the Philippine Sea, the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, saw Avengers attack beyond darkness, striking the Japanese carrier Hiei, and returning through black skies as every ship in the fleet turned on lights to guide them home. Months later, they struck the Musashi, the largest battleship ever built, pounding it with torpedoes until it capsized. In April 1945, they repeated the feat against Yamato, whose death marked the end of the battleship era. Across the Pacific, Avengers destroyed carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and submarines, over 1 million tons of enemy shipping. Yet most of their missions weren't glorious. They dropped bombs, fired rockets, supported landings, rescued downed pilots, and carried supplies. The Avenger did everything. Even future President George H.W. Bush flew one. At 19, during a mission over Chichijima, Bush's Avenger was hit by flak. He stayed on course, released his bombs, and bailed out over the ocean, surviving hours at sea before rescue by the submarine USS Finback. His crew perished, but his bravery earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, a testament to the Avenger's toughness and the peril its crews faced. Statistically, it was one of the safest combat aircraft ever made. 46,000 sorties flown, 729 lost, a 1.58% loss rate. The critics who once called it too complex now called it indestructible. Every system once mocked, its electric turret, folding wings, armored cockpit, had saved lives. The Sto-Wing design became a Grumman hallmark, later used on the Hellcat and Hawkeye. Its engineering philosophy, redundancy, flexibility, and crew survivability defined post-war aircraft. After 1945, Avengers flew with navies around the world: Canada, France, Japan, Brazil, serving into the 1960s as submarine hunters, reconnaissance planes, and radar platforms. They even pioneered airborne early warning with massive belly-mounted radars in the TBM 3W. The Avenger's influence endured long after its last torpedo run. It was more than a weapon. It was a design philosophy that valued endurance over elegance. When compared to its peers, the fragile Japanese Nakajima B-5N or the outdated British Swordfish, the Avenger stood alone in strength and survivability. Its descendants inherited its lessons: protection first, flexibility always, and never underestimate an aircraft built to survive. By war's end, Avengers had sunk 12 carriers, 6 battleships, 19 cruisers, 25 destroyers, and nearly 30 submarines. It rewrote naval warfare not through speed or grace, but through sheer resilience. Critics called it ugly. Engineers called it overbuilt. Pilots called it a miracle. The Grumman Avenger, too heavy to fight, too tough to die.